Joining us this week for our Talks and Tea, sponsored by PBS SoCal. So today's topic is going to be on the fashion show, the recycled fashion show that was held on Sunday. So we're going to hear from all the participating artists about how they made their creations, what inspired them, any trials or tribulations, and we will have one artist joining us a little bit later. Take it away, Susan.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Good morning, everyone, or I guess I should say good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is the 11th year for this event here at the Festival of Arts, and I'd like to share just a little bit of the genesis of how this event even happened. Dan Dooling, who is our wonderful scriptwriter, and he is for the Pageant of the Masters. He's also a playwright, and he suggested, and he knows the theater world very well in LA, and he made a suggestion one time to me to go up to LA to see the 99-cent production company presentation of a musical, an all-original musical called Calendar Girl. And the production, this is the great part about the 99-cent production company, everything in this original show, sets, costuming, everything, is made with items from the 99-cent store. And it's so creative and so imaginative. Anyway, we went to this production. It was fabulous. And at the intermission, those of us that went said, I know our Festival of Arts artists could do something great like this. So we came back, we talked about it, we put a new twist on it and made it about recycled materials. We threw the concept out to our arts community here at the Festival of Arts, and it's been an incredible, fun 11 years for all of us so far, and we're hoping it continues. It's one of my favorite events of the entire summer, and part of the reason for that is not just as you can see here, some of the amazing creative things that our artists put together. It highlights the Festival of Arts artists and the creative nature of an artist. So here we are, we just passed our 11th summer, and we're excited to show you today some of the work and some of the entrants in our Runway fashion show this year. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the categories. We did have prizes, and we had 4 categories for people to submit works in, and those are the most creative concept, the most exciting ensemble, inspired by the 2019 pageant theme, The Time Machine, the most innovative use of materials, and the most glamorous and elegant red carpet worthy creation. And at this time, I think I'm going to let all of the artists tell you about their works and tell you what inspired them, how some of them did a lot of dumpster diving and searching for old, used, worn out materials to come up with some of these beautiful creations. Oh, and before I get started, let me introduce all of the people that are here today. Elizabeth McGhee is right here. Kate Cohen, Rachelle Weir, Lani Emaniel, and Mike Tauber, who collaborated, Mariana Nelson, who just got here, thank you, Mariana, and Brad Elsberry. And these are all the participants in this year's fashion show. So I know, give them a hand. They did a fabulous job. So at this time, I think I'm going to start right down here next to me with Elizabeth McGhee and let her explain to you and share with you some of the work and craziness that goes into putting these things together.
So I'm Elizabeth McGhee, and I have no background in fashion at all. My sisters would always say, "Oh, you get your clothes at Target." And it's like, no, it's Target, you know. But the first time that I did the recycled fashion show was my first summer in the show, 10 summers ago. But and I worked with David Melton and with Janet Lewis and everything, and so that was really exciting. And then the next year, I was like, I'm gonna try and do one, but I didn't have the guts to do it myself. So I collaborated with another artist, Brittany Ryan, who's a sculptor, and so I ended up using her dress form, and I'm like, oh man, this makes it so much easier, especially since math and seams and patterns are not my strong suit. So you almost build the dress like a sculpture. So particularly for this dress, it's just paper, tape, and staples, and a little bit of string. And I build it with wadded up paper. So I ended up getting a bunch of old magazines, wadded up the paper to kind of make it more flexible and fabricy and give it some body, staple it together. So I'll show you the inside of the dress. So you can see where the sleeves are, it's puffy. And then on the bodice, where I wanted it to be nice and slim for my hourglass figure, that's just the flat paper with no wrinkling. So yeah, it's just tape holding it together and staples for the main structure. So after I built the main structure, then I started cutting out the watches, which were advertisements for magazines that Dagmar Chaplin generously gave me a whole folder of. So I spent a week with me and my friends cutting them out and then placing them. And I had made a dress a few years ago made out of lottery tickets, and it just happened to drizzle that recycled fashion show day. So I learned that when you have a paper dress, the top layer should have some clear packing tape, just in case. So I didn't add much of it on the bottom of the dress, but definitely on the top and the big sleeves, I figured that would work like an umbrella. And then I have duct tape and Velcro to hold it together because I had to put it on myself. And so if it was on the back, there's no way I'd be able to move. And the other funny thing about making a dress out of paper is even though it is paper, it's not very flexible, otherwise it'll tear. So the one drawback to this dress is I couldn't lift my arms up. So I had to make sure my hair was done before the dress was done, and my friend Netta helped me with that because, again, I have no fashion or style sense, so had help with that, which was nice. And then the bottom of the dress is folded, so it's like, those little paper fans we all made as kids, and stapled together. And then the way that the skirt held on, because again, I'm not a big sewer, it's just duct tape and then a bolt, a nut, and a washer from Coast Hardware. So, and again, I'm not good at measuring, so I ended up making a couple of holes, test it, nope, needs to be better, And then the necklace itself is also more magazines. I made paper beads, and so you guys can come up and look at the end for a close look. So these are rolled magazine strips and then finished with clear nail polish to make permanent beads, just with another little watch on it. So yeah, I thought I'd go with the theme this year, and I was really grateful to Dagmar because we do the jokes, on the night before last, if many of you have been here. So anyway, she's great with that. I'm one of her little minions. So anyway, so yeah, that was the dress.
Hello, my name is Kate Cohen, and this year I thought a lot about women, and with the passing of Aretha Franklin, I wanted to really honor her, and it's the first time ever that a woman of color or anyone of color has walked the runway in 11 years. So that was that. And under the guise of God's cruel joke, I refused to iron my husband's clothes, and he's a professional. So over a year, I saved dry cleaner bags, and between two pieces of what's it called, that you bake with, parchment paper. Thank you, parchment paper. I ironed, which fused it, which made it more rigid, and then painted it. My studio floor is covered with white paint. I painted it with spray paint. And then because Aretha's a larger woman, I had to build it on her, which was like, am I burning you? No, I'm okay. Am I burning you now? No, I'm okay. So a whole lot of like, oh, okay, I'm burning myself, went into it. And then with the ruffles, I decided, first of all, to make the 2005 Aretha Franklin double ruffle dress. And so to make the ruffles, I had to make it even stiffer. So it was one bag long, and then that was fused, and then painted, and then another bag on top of that, fused and painted, and then another bag on top of that. And then I started folding and made each individual ruffle, and in between folds, I got my iron down and fused that together, and then started attaching it to many layers of plastic that I put together with the bags, and then started cutting holes in her arms. Like, again, am I burning you? No. Am I okay? So, but basically, it was one material. We went out to, of course, her iconic song, which is "Respect." We had a load of fun, and that's it. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Rachelle, and I did a costume for the theme, which was Time Machine, and my inspiration was both the literary work and then also the kind of the inventor in the book. And one of the first things that I thought of when I started the project was that the time machine in the movie had this big disc, and it would spin and spin and spin. And so I kind of wanted to create something, I wasn't sure how, but something to remember that kind of time machine look. So I came up with the idea of using an old umbrella, and for the coloring, I decided to use ties. And so I went to my dad. He's now going to be 84 next week. And I said, Dad, do you have any ties? Well, he, brought out bags and bags of ties that he doesn't wear anymore. And I did need a couple of a certain color, so I did go to the local Salvation Army to pick up one or two. But this was the disc for the time machine. I used this old wood table leg, kind of to give it an authentic 1800s look. Having sewing machine issues, I think my mom's thread was about 35 years old. So I was having problems with that, but was able to use some of the no-sew, which is a great invention. Because a lot of my artwork involves recycled pieces and parts anyway, I had a lot of things that I thought could work into a time machine, such as pieces of old clocks, gears. I had this lampshade in my garage. A lot of times I like to work and kind of make lamps. So I took a lampshade and some discarded books to make the hat for the gentleman. And then the book pages actually were decoupaged on to create the brim. And every inventor needs a light bulb over his head. So that kind of is what that inspired that. The goggles for his journey, these are Arizona drink bottles. And what I've learned with doing a lot of recycling in my art is that when you look at objects in a different way, you can find a lot of really beautiful objects. And if you look at just the bottoms of these water bottles, they didn't have to make it like this, but they did, and it's very pretty. And so just simple 2 water bottles with some paint made the goggles. Some cuffs. I use a lot of, I do wood carving. So wherever I find pieces of wood, I grab onto them. Starbucks coffee stirs. Every time we have a meeting at work, there's just a gob of stirs laying there. And I'm like, you can't throw those away. So I actually use these in, actually one of my pieces right now actually has Starbucks coffee stirs on it. A lot of gears. These are some disposable chopsticks with, of course, a fortune attached to it. The time machine here, I was going to use a Amazon box, but then as I was in my laundry room, discovered the laundry soap was about empty. So that's what this base is a Gain laundry bottle. It kind of had a very spacey look to it. And this plastic piece was the bottom of a lettuce holder. You know how they have those clamshell holders now? Well, look at the beautiful design on that. Again, it's so pretty with a little paint on it. So a lot of just pieces and parts again that I had. Some more silk ties for the jacket. A pill bottle that says hold, tab down, and turn, which seemed very, apropos for a time machine traveler, that you need to have something like that. Used ties. The front of the jacket is a little hard to see, but the cardboard is again Amazon packaging, and the water bottle lids for the buttons. They have it like a beautiful little star shape inside them, and pieces and parts of old clocks. So I had a lot of fun building this, and a lot of it was, if not just from my dad's closet, some of the belts and ties, a few, like a trip to Salvation Army to find a few pieces. And then most of the nuts and bolts and things were things that I had already. So.
Hi, I'm Lani Emaniel. So I hadn't actually considered doing the fashion show, and Mike Tauber here emailed me about 5 days prior and said, hey, you want to collaborate on something? They need some more outfits. And so I said, all right, well, let's meet tomorrow. So we met, and my first question was, do you have a model? And he said, yes, Karen in the office. I'm like, okay, check. Do you have some stuff, like some trash, junk, recyclables, whatever? Yes, I have these bags. I'll bring them in. So we had a meeting with our model, and I went through, 10 or so of these recyclable bags. These happen to be from Staples, and I just cut the Staples part off since they weren't sponsoring us. And I liked the graphics on this one. I liked everything about it, the gray with the lime green and white, and the fact that it says make a greener tomorrow happen. I think that was very apropos for the materials aspect of the fashion show. And when I went to fit them on my models, the first thing I did was just cut the bottoms out and had her shimmy into them. And then I fitted them on her, just very simply where the, I had to cut the straps in half because they were the wrong east-west versus north-south to get the straps to go over her body. Cut, Velcro, and where the seams of the bag were, that's where I sort of hid the darts to fit it on her body. And just a little Velcro and straps to hold them together. I let the straps just kind of be free. I kind of felt like there's something about this that was, I don't know, like a little Boy George inspired, with things just kind of left to flap and hang and whatever. And so she was looking amazing, but knowing that it was going to be an outdoor runway and a little breeze, I decided to add a train. So this is basically, you can see what it is. It's just 3 trash bags that I opened up and hand sewed together, needle and thread, which was challenging because the needle kept this plastic kept stretching, and it was a little bit of a hassle. But anyway, and then so we did a trial run in her office of her walking with the 6-foot train, and it kept folding in on itself. So I had to go buy some super skinny wire, twist it together, run it through where the ties are, the pull ties, and then that kind of made it just stay put and kind of spread out. When I went to iron this top, thank goodness I did it on the back first, lowest setting, it melted it like almost instantly. So I couldn't iron it. I have no idea what this is made out of, but I've had these bags in my garage for maybe, not these specific ones, but this kind of material. After about 6 months, it turns to powder. And so I don't know, maybe it's like a cellulose or something. I have no idea, but I couldn't iron it. And that's it for the part that I worked on. Mike?
Thanks, Lani. So I'm Mike Tauber, and we didn't have a lot of time, and I don't know what I don't know how to do this either. So we spent 4 or 5 days. So we split up the tasks because we had no time for meetings. So I said, I'll do the accessories. So these are the earrings that our model wore. They're just made of business cards with Lani's. She's a figurative painter. So one of them shows Lani's work on there. And then this one is of my work that are in our booth at the festival. And then our theme was called Time to Shop for Art. So, because every time is a good time to shop for art at the Festival of Arts. Who could disagree with that? So these are her shoes that she gave me, and I painted them. Our theme was the festival orange, that color that we love. And then we used lime green that was inspired from the trash bags. See if I could put this on. Yes, the hat. And 2 o'clock was the show time of the second round. So we made it 2 o'clock to remind us, get back to the stage by 2. And so it's made from a box that had some light bulbs in it from my booth, and washers from the hardware store, and some popsicle sticks. And then our model was carrying, just to encourage the shopping theme. And she bought art at Mike and Lani's booths. So these are cuffs that are from the Time Machine Pageant of the Masters ticket office. So and that was our theme. Okay, thanks. Mariana.
Hi, I'm Mariana. And usually I've made dresses before out of plastic, so I wanted to challenge myself a little bit this year. So I found a big dumpster full of ribbon that had been used for a school play, just tons of it. So it was at a reuse center, and I grabbed like an armful, and they're like $5. I go, oh, I'll go get some more. So I had all of this ribbon, and so I'm trying to stay away from plastic, right? I researched the ribbon. It's freaking plastic. So it's synthetic. It's that floral ribbon, and it just never occurred to me that that was plastic. So I'm like, oh great, another thing I have to give up in the life. So I did everything I could possibly do with the ribbon. This I shredded. So you know how you take ribbon? Oh my god, hours and hours, and it was so much fun. I watched the whole season of Jane the Virgin. You should see that, it's really good. And I watched, what else? Glow. It's really good. It's about women roller derby people. And after this was over, I still have a bit of anxiety because like, what am I going to do? Let's do it. I can do this. So the ribbon just came in 3 colors, and this is bleach. This is actually this magenta bleached into an orange, which is really interesting. And it's all worked on. The armature for this is Angie Campbell here. I asked Angie for help because I don't know how to sew. And so she helped me make the dress form out of this fishing net. And this was reclaimed from volunteer divers who go into the ocean and pull out, it's called ghost netting. And it's actually the biggest form of pollution in the ocean. It's worse than all of our plastic. And some of the ghost netting is big enough to cover the Golden Gate Bridge. And when they're tired of it or it breaks, it's just dumped. And some of it sinks and some of it floats. So anything that goes through it dies. And when they donated it to me, they just threw it in my truck, which was 3 weeks new. And driving home, I'm like, oh my god, this smells so bad. And when I got home, there were fish in it. And I'm like, oh. So that was awesome. And then, so after I shredded it, I still had some material. So I made the tassels. And I just started making these 2 weeks ago. And of course, when I started making them, I'm like, oh my god, I want the whole dress as tassels. But that would take a couple more years. So I could only go up to this spot, but oh god, I wanted to do all tassels so badly. And then this, the top up here, this is just the same ribbon. I just folded it and glued it on. And then I found this feather duster, which was half taken apart just in the street. And I spent like hours putting these feathers on. It was the first thing I did. But then I put the other things on, and I realized, oh my god, you can't see the feathers. So anyway, I was disappointed they weren't bigger. And then these are just coffee lids that I melted. And then the morning of the fashion show, I was like, oh crap, I don't have a headpiece. So I got up at like 6 and made this. It is, these are ribbons too. You can heat the ribbon in it because it's synthetic, it melts. And so I made the ribbon flowers. Some of the ribbon I shredded and then meticulously braided, as in like this was 2 days of work. Don't tell anybody. And then these are coffee lids too, and this is just fused plastic. And then I had my mom, because my mom kept saying, oh, let me help. So I said, oh, you can shred this blue ribbon. But it wasn't a perfect job. But I knew if I didn't use it in my piece that I was going to get in trouble from mom. So it's up here. But yeah, that was it. Oh, these are Keurig lids. And the only thing I bought were these little beads because I needed a tiny bit of accent. So this is the only purchase. Everything else is just garbage. So it was fun. And I just want to say your backpack you have to come look at the backpack because I work with plastic and no way in hell could I make something that looks that good. It's really incredible. So thank you. Yes?
Oh, we might save questions for the end. That way we can just, no, you're good, you're good.
I love her detail and her materials. It's so cool. I'm Brad. You should see all of her shoes. They're great. I'm Brad Elsberry. I've been doing this since we started. I guess that's 10 years. And this year I went to my printing concern. I can't call them a print shop because they're 220,000 square feet up in Cerritos. And when I saw how big they were, they gave me a tour. And I saw all the bins rolling around like the factory where you throw everything away. And I said, oh, you must have big dumpsters out back. And they actually had 5 of the big truck-sized dumpsters in back. So I said, well, we have this little project we do. And he asked me, are you wanting to dumpster dive? Is that what you're saying? And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So 3 times I did that. I filled my van. I have so much weight in materials that I'm trying to now get rid of that I have to take care of that. But it gave me some variety. They work in plastics and vinyls and, of course, paper, lots of different kinds of paper, shiny, flat. And they work on fabrics. I didn't want to overindulge in the fabrics, so I used them where I needed strength. But they do trade show exhibits. So they're made of polyesters of various levels of shine or flat or strength and stretch. And when they start something, they'll have samples of it to make sure it's correct, and then they throw out the samples. It's really incredibly wasteful, the amount of stuff they have to go through to produce the final products. And so when I'm looking at things, I'm just throwing them into bags and putting them in the car. And then I came back with various posters that I didn't even know what they were, but those movies don't come out for a couple of months. So they were cut up into insignificant pieces. And it was fun to play with things that could be worked with. People have mentioned the ways they go together. Staples, I learned from a friend, staples are really good for sewing. You can get into things. If you can't get it into your sewing machine because it's too big and bulky, you can put something on it. You can hem something. Staples, regular staples, very handy. various glues, from heavy-duty spray adhesive, hot glue has been my friend for decades. It's just something that you can do so many different things with. Just be careful. It's so easy to really hurt yourself with it. So what I did, I told a story, and to tell a story, that meant I had to do a bunch of different looks. I just had an idea in mind, so I decided to indulge myself and do that. And I started out in 1969 at the Stonewall Inn in New York, and I had a mod miniskirt made from posters. The fringe is the plain vinyl before it's printed, which I just shredded. Her wig was made of paper. It was just one of those mod flips. It'll stick to her hair if she tries that. And then the gentleman had the sort of Sonny Bono vest idea with the different shades of paper ombre on it. And nowhere nowadays can you find, even if you try, at least for men, striped bell bottoms. So he has these vinyl striped bell bottoms that went with the vest. And we only have so much time, so things had to move quickly. So the judges said we should have done it on stage, but we didn't. We did it where it was in the wings and the judges were watching. So they unzip and they snap on. For the next look, he was supposed to be like a denizen of the dance clubs in the full leather outfit. So we're progressing from things being a protest movement in 1969 where nobody had any respect or any rights to culture that was underground becoming obvious to mainstream culture. So he had these pants, this jacket, and a hat and the dark glasses and everything to go with it. And that was one look. And while he did that, she was getting ready to do a look that was inspired by Le Cage aux Folles. So this is the top part of it, which was the collar and all the fringe hanging from the collar. There was a skirt that went with it, which was cut at the last minute. It sat backstage. It didn't get used. And that was all about fastening. Fasteners are very time-consuming and difficult to pull off. Everybody talked about how hard it is to get these things to stay on bodies. And even with experience, I'm looking at this thinking this big paper cone, trying to get it to look good underneath everything, decided at the last moment, nope, it's going. We'll have fun with that. It didn't matter. So this came out on her as Le Cage. And then after she did her runway, he was ready to help her with her last look.
Excuse me, how can you compete with this?
And he came out in the frock coat with the top hat. The frock coat are color samples printed on the fabric. I used the fabrics for these two looks. And then this is cut strips of vinyl that are laid over it to make it more white. I wanted more white embellishment on it for the wedding look. And it wouldn't stick. An interesting thing about putting things together with this, for me anyway, this probably has a stain-resistant finish on this fabric. So nothing wanted to, even the duct tape didn't want to stick to it on the back. I tried that. So in places I used contact cement. And I had the contact cement these on, which then bubbles up and wrinkles up the vinyl, which I thought was ruining the vinyl. And after I set it aside, the bubbles vanish. It's very strange working with it. So it was an experiment, and it worked okay. So I was really happy with the way that turned out. It allowed us to go through 6 looks in like 8 minutes and wrapped it up with a great big 60-foot rainbow banner that was hidden under the stage that they pulled out for the wedding scene. So I had a lot of fun doing the theme, and playing with the stuff from the print shop is just an endless variety of things to use. So that was fun, challenging, when you're trying to sew things that don't want to bend, they won't fit, they don't do stuff. So it was actually quite difficult from a construction standpoint too, to put it together. But I will admit, any of those shops, if you need to find things that are clever, if you ask permission, you're going to find an abundance of plastics, particularly that they can't recycle, unfortunately, and all this stuff just gets tossed. I mean, it was amazing to see. And if they had a damaged bolt, damaged on one side, the whole bolt just goes away and gets trashed. And there's all this extra stuff that would work for someone if they knew it was there and could use it. So thank you very much. I love this event.
I'm gonna tattle. He had 2 freaking wigs and a full bouquet of flowers for the wedding. I mean,
The big wig that's now on stage in Pasadena.
I mean, really.
I hope that this has given all of you just a tiny glimpse into the creative mind that I don't have that kind of thing going on in my head, and I would guess there are people out there who don't either. It's really special people that are able to think and come up with these amazing creations. And I'm really glad they shared some of the stumbling blocks they met and some of the challenges they had and just the way they look at materials in a different way. So I'd like to say thank you to all of the artists that participated in this fashion show. I truly appreciate it, and so do all of us. And I'm going to turn this back over to Elizabeth now.
So I'm sure you all have lots of questions for all of us. So we'll start answering questions, and then I'm going to repeat the question in the microphone so that way everyone can hear it. So the question was about the coffee cup lids and what exactly you did to use them.
What did I do? I went into Starbucks and let everyone stare at me as I pulled them out of the garbage. And then I put them through the washing machine. Then I put 2 layers. It's interesting, only certain pigments stick to this plastic, and gold does. So I put 2 or 3 layers of gold on the top, and then the inside is ink, because ink will stain it. And then I went out and used the face mask and melted it. And you have to melt it, and you have about 3 seconds to form it. And I forgot to mention one thing. I had a malfunction. What's it called? Wardrobe malfunction. My cousin, who has to use the bathroom all the time, and I'm like, just don't drink water. Well, anyway, she went in, and when she rolled up her nylon, she got the dress stuck into it. So she came out and it was like this, and she's like, can you fix it? And I wouldn't. I said, no, that's what you get. You shouldn't have had any water.
Yeah, that is the difficult thing with, I model my own dress, so I'm torturing myself, but it's like a lot of these dresses, it's like, yeah, going to the bathroom would be very difficult, if not impossible.
Yeah.
Question again for Mariana, how do you shred all that ribbon?
As long as you don't judge me. You sit in bed for hours and hours, and you just repetitively go like this. It's like, if you cut a real silk ribbon, it will fall apart. Do you know what I mean? So with the synthetic, it's actually not that easy, and I have an awesome ribbon callus on my thumb. But you just shred it and pull it and shred it and pull it and shred it and pull it. And my mom came in and she said, don't you have something better to do with your time? And she was really concerned about me. But when she saw it, she was like, okay, that's okay. But yeah, it was hours, but it was relaxing. I don't know, something repetitive, and like you're not looking and you don't care.
Mariana's wearing one of her own necklaces, by the way, that you see in her booth. That's her own work.
This is made of dry cleaning bags from the montage, and I think they hate it when I say that, so I always say it. And it's recycled threads. I only work with material that's reclaimed. I refuse to buy anything. And this is free. But yeah, this is dry cleaning bags.
booth is filled with all of that if you go and visit. What's your booth number? I forgot. Somewhere.
It's by the men's bathroom.
Let's see her booth over there.
Yes.
That was around the same time that Susan and them came up with this concept, and they actually displayed those costumes here at the show. Jim, who was here for 35 years, passed on a couple of years ago, but Tim Day still makes things. He just did a huge gown out of wooden clothespins. He's in Austin, Texas, and I only got to play with recyclable materials when Susan did this, because for years he did costumes out of recyclable materials, and he was one of my closest friends, so I couldn't touch him. So I had to work with other things. But when he moved to Texas and she started this, I got to play with him, so I really enjoyed getting to catch up and do things. And I have used plastics and bubble wraps and things too, like he did with those. Now, he was a big inspiration to me.
Yes.
So the question was about for Kate about the skirt, whether it was clear plastic or she painted it.
You mean down here? Yeah, it was a plastic bag that I fused, and some of them I fused a little bit too much, and so it started looking like lace, and I went with it. And then when the some of the, you can see there's some paint chips here, it started pulling off, which is why I knew I had to double and triple up on this. But I decided to just go with it because it looked like lace and it was really feminine looking. And then that's when we decided to put an underdress under, so she sacrificed the sundress because it could have been like Aretha in the nude.
Any other questions? Oh, yes. So the question was for Brad, how long did you work on it? And I think it'll be cool if we go down and we kind of...
I allowed myself 3 weeks, and I took more time than I normally would off from the festival to do this. Usually I don't take on this ridiculous amount of work. I don't allow myself to start early on the project, because if I allow myself extra time or extra budget, the projects will just grow to fit what I have. So I don't start any earlier than that, just to make sure that I don't dedicate my entire summer to doing something just for the fashion show.
Oh, I start super early because I only do a little bit at a time. I can't work more than like an hour. So I think I started, and also I don't have a vision till all the material's laid out. So I think I started shredding like in May. And then my cousin kept calling me in the last 3 weeks saying, oh my God, am I going to be naked? And I'm like, no, it'll come together. And so I put the dress together maybe the last week and early the morning of the show.
Lani and I did ours in about 4 or 5 days. We just kind of jumped on at the last minute. But it's good to show other artists that if I don't know what I'm doing, but I would recommend to all the other exhibitors just to try it once, because it was a great experience. The show is phenomenal. The audience is so much fun clapping, and they play music. It's just really a fun day, and I don't have any regrets. So I would tell all the other artists you can and should try doing it once.
And I second that.
I spent about a week on the outfit. I signed up at the last minute. I had a class. I'm at Art Affair, and I teach beginning wood carving workshops. And so I already had students signed up. So I knew I couldn't be here throughout the entire fashion show. So I let Susan know. I said, well, I could send a model with an outfit, and I'm not sure how much time I could actually be here during the event. So she said, absolutely, let's do that. So I jumped in, and I did need to take off a couple days from the festival to pull everything together. But luckily my son, when I could nail him down to try to put on the outfit to try it on him, he's in and out of the house all the time. So did things more as components so that I could fit it on him on the Saturday before the show, which was Sunday. So.
I spent more hours than I even can even think about because it was just so many hours. But I had 2 backup singers' dresses that I didn't bring because I wanted the judges to be judging on this. The dress itself took maybe a week and a half, but it's the ruffles that were so time consuming. So I have no idea how much time I spent, but it was oodles.
Yeah, I usually don't start on mine early because I don't know. I'm a big fan of desperation leads to creativity. Because if I have enough time, then I go, oh yeah, I have enough time to do that and that and that and that, and then pretty soon it's not as good as if it's like, okay, I have this problem and I need to solve it immediately. Oh, cool, this is a good idea, you know. So I find that I'm more efficient if I'm later. But I'm sure Dagmar spent a lot of time saving the watches, and I think I've had a little bit of advantage because I've done it. This will be my 10th time having made one of these dresses, so I kind of know what works and what doesn't work, because before I would have to start months in advance. But yeah, there was a lot of cutting though, so I think I took I have a day job, so couldn't take time off my day job to work on it, so I had to sacrifice time in my booth in the evenings. So I think there was like about a week, and I had a lot of concerned friends going, are you okay? Are you sick again? And it's like, no, it's just the dress. All right, any more last minute questions? Oh yeah, sure.
So, you've seen what everyone's done, and I'm going to let you in on who won what categories in the show. So, for the most creative concept, that was Brad Elsberry. For the most exciting ensemble, inspired by the 2019 pageant theme, The Time Machine, that went to Elizabeth McGhee. Most innovative use of materials went to Rachelle Weir. And the most glamorous and elegant red carpet worthy creation went to Mariana Nelson. Thanks so much everyone for coming today.
I definitely want to invite you to next week's Art Talk, which will be our last one of the season. So that's going to be hosted by Joshua Rose, the editor of American Art Collector. So it should be a fascinating listen. And thank you again for coming, and thank you PBS SoCal for sponsoring this event. And thank you all for coming.